Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to AI, our jobs. Is it going to be this giant destructive force that just wipes out entire professions in a flash? Or is something else going on? Well, a landmark study from MIT gives us a really fascinating new way to think about this whole thing.
You know that feeling, right? That little bit of anxiety that maybe you'll wake up one day and bam, some new AI can do your entire job just like that, without any warning. And it's exactly that fear that researchers decided to put under the microscope, using actual real-world data.
So, to really get a handle on this, the MIT study gives us two pretty powerful metaphors. Think of it like this. On one hand, you've got the crashing wave, this sudden, violent, unpredictable surge. And on the other, you've got the rising tide, slower, more gradual, lifting everything up together. And believe me, which one is true tells a very different story about our future.
All right, so let's dig into that first idea, the crashing wave. This is the one that, let's be honest, fuels all the scary headlines, right? The whole idea is built around this super steep curve you see here. It's all about a tipping point. Imagine AI is just failing at a task. Then, with just a tiny little improvement, it suddenly crosses this invisible line and, boom, it's not just succeeding, it's good enough to automate a whole bunch of jobs. It would be a total shock to the system for a lot of people.
Okay, so is this crashing wave a real threat? To figure that out, a team at MIT's Future Tech project basically said, let's stop guessing and get some data. And when I say they launched an investigation, I mean this thing was massive.
We're talking more than 17,000 evaluations.
On over 3,000 different kinds of job tasks. And get this wasn't some abstract lab test. They pulled these tasks straight from the U.S. Department of Labor. This is the real-world stuff that people get paid to do every single day. And just look at how wide they cast the net. This wasn't just about jobs you'd expect, like coders or writers. No way. They looked at the text-based work that happens in every corner of the economy, from finance to construction, management to, even food service. The big question was, okay, LLMs, how do you really stack up against the work that makes the whole economy tick?
So after all that work, after all those evaluations, what did they find? Is the big wave about to crash down on us?
Well, the evidence was pretty overwhelming, and it pointed in a totally different direction. It turns out AI's progress looks a heck of a lot more like that rising tide. So, remember that steep, scary cliff from the wave theory? The real data shows something completely different. This much gentler slope. What this tells us is that AI doesn't just suddenly become useless as tasks get harder. Its performance goes down, sure, but it's a gradual, predictable decline. It's getting better at the easy stuff and the hard stuff, all at the same time. And I love how the researchers put it themselves. They said the slope was surprisingly flat. I mean, that's it. That's the big aha moment of the whole paper. It means AI progress isn't this scary, unpredictable monster. It's actually much more predictable and widespread than many of us feared. Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. The researchers wanted to know why the tide is rising. Is it just about making models bigger, or is something else going on? And they found a huge difference. So look at this chart on the left. That's what happens when you just throw more computing power at a model to make it bigger. Yeah, it gets a little better at short, easy stuff, but it doesn't really help with the harder, longer tasks. But now, look at the chart on the right. This is what happens when you have a genuinely new, more innovative model. See that? The entire line shifts up. This is the key. Real innovation isn't just a small boost. It's a parallel shift. It lifts all boats, as they say, making AI better across the board. That, right there, is the rising tide. So, okay, it's a tide, not a wave. That's good news, right? It feels a little less apocalyptic. But it brings up a really important question. How fast is this tide actually rising? And the answer is kind of mind-blowing. The study found that it takes just 3.8 months for an AI model to be able to handle a task that's twice as long with the same level of success. Let me say that again, 3.8 months. That's the doubling time. And you can see it right here on this chart. The lines are just steadily climbing upwards. It doesn't matter if you're talking about 50% success or 80% success. The pace of improvement is consistent, and it is fast. So, yeah, the tide is rising, and it's not taking its sweet time. So where does this all lead? What does this mean for, say, the next 5 years? Well, the researchers took their data and ran the numbers forward. And assuming this crazy fast pace of improvement keeps up, the picture it paints is Well, it's pretty startling. It gives us a really clear picture of when AI could handle a huge chunk of the text-based work we do every day. Just look at this projection. Each of these lines is a different type of task, from the easy ones up top to the really tough ones down at the bottom. And just watch them. They all just sweep upwards over time. The big takeaway here? By 2029, that's not that far away, they project AI will be able to handle the bulk of the work that takes us hours or even days to do. And it'll do it with an 80 to 95% success rate. Now hold on, before we all start planning our retirement in 2029, the researchers were super responsible about putting some big caveats on this. First, this whole projection assumes that AI keeps improving at this breakneck speed, and who knows if that will happen. Second, this doesn't factor in the actual cost and headache of getting this stuff to work in a real company. And maybe most importantly, we're talking about minimally sufficient quality here. Think good enough, not perfect. Getting AI to be truly flawless, like 100% perfect, that's going to take a whole lot longer. So let's just boil this all down. The whole crashing wave idea is about sudden targeted shocks, unpredictable automation that just wipes out a job category overnight. But what the data actually shows is this rising tide. It's more gradual, it's broader, and it lifts capabilities across a ton of different tasks at once. And the most important part, it gives us a heads up. It gives us time to see what's coming and actually prepare for it. But look, let's be crystal clear. Just because it's not a crashing wave doesn't mean there won't be huge changes. The tide is definitely rising, and it's rising fast. So we might not get hit by a sudden tsunami out of nowhere, but we can absolutely see the water level getting higher, year after year, in a really predictable way. And that leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? Knowing what we know now, what's our next move? How do we prepare, adapt, and build the boats we'll need to navigate these changing waters?